in the patreon.com/Voch Lombardi. We took a look at the defense today, and boy, man, was I just proud of my defensive unit, man. And I know this is something that I've said before. You know, I've come out here and I've said like, hey, I'm proud of my defense. I'm incredibly blown away by what they did. But this is where I think I kind of missed it a little bit, right? I kind of missed it in the context of I think so highly of my defense that I think they're all good. You know what I mean? So even when I'm talking about guys like Bohanna, you know, I could be talking about like guys like, you know, Chauncey and those characters. I can look at them and be like, oh, there's some good guys that played. So yeah, us versus this first team Jacksonville defense, that's not incredibly strange that we did, you know, terrible things to them for 2 drives and a half or anything like that. But, you know, sometimes you got to sit back and you really got to, get away from the mirror a little bit. You get a little more room and see what happened in the preseason. And I'm not trying to be, you know, homer guy in that way or anything like that. And y'all know I don't mind being homer guy, right? I'm not being homer guy in that way. But I will say with this second, it was a mixture, right? It was a mixture of second and third defense beating the shit out the Jags, you know what I'm saying? And the only thing that made it any kind of different was the Turpin fumble, right? And whenever you have turnovers, you know, teams, they build their momentum back up, they get back into a groove, and then there you go, right? You know, but when we think highly of like Sam Williams, bro, Sam Williams is still our edge too for the right side, right? Bohanna is still a down the roster D tackle. Neville's still a down the roster D tackle. Look, we're super excited about Mazi. Let's just keep it a buck. Mazi is a second team 1 tech right now. Hankins is first, right? We're excited about Damone Clark. Damone Clark is a starter. I think Damone was like the only legit ass starter that was on the field. Osa was there, of course, but Osa got a cool couple plays in. He, you know what I'm saying? I was about to say put his other clothes on, but no, Osa, he probably just took his shirt off and just stood around somewhere, whatever. But when Osa came off the field, the only starter that was left there, in their just, hey, I'm starting and this is my starting spot. It was Clark, excuse me. It was Clark. And Clark was just doing linebacker things, right? Deron Bland wasn't even playing nickel. They moved him to the outside. Deron Bland playing outside right now. That's Gilly Diggs territory. But besides that, you got Eric Scott. Nashawn was running around. Kelvin did nickel things when, you know, Deron Bland wasn't outside playing outside. Like Deron Bland came off the field when Osa came off the field, right? You got Overshown, in which we thought Overshown was just gonna straight up and down be a project for a while. Overshown's gonna be a fine box player. We just gotta let that time do his time little thing, right? Call in, by the way. And the first player to make the play, the first player that continues this trend of Cowboys defense getting all the turnovers was Wanye Thomas. And look, there's a part of me that's an R&B fan, and I'm like, is this somehow connected to Boys to Men Wanye? But that's like Morris or something. But I still think it's the same name in my mind. So I start singing all the Boys to Men hits in my mind when I just see Wanye. I think it's Morris, but his name is Thomas. But still, how in the hell Wanye make the first play? And you can tap me on the shoulder right here and be like, well, but Voch, Wanye's had a really good camp. But listen to what we're saying. Wanye's having a good camp. Versus Trevor Lawrence and them. According to Cowherd and all the top people, Trevor Lawrence is bona fide top 10 now. Wanye picked him off. Dak Prescott throw interceptions in practice to Diggs and Gilmore and shit, but Trevor Lawrence threw that joint to Wanye. And no disrespect to Wanye, but you ain't Malik. No disrespect to Marquise Bell, but you ain't Dono. You know what I'm saying? No disrespect to Neville, to who but the first round pick Mazi. No disrespect to Mazi, but you ain't Hank. You understand? Hey Sam, I appreciate you, but you ain't Micah. And this ain't me poo-pooing on my second team guys. This is me propping them up. This is my second team guys. You know we love to do that Cowboy fan hyperbole, but it ain't really hyperbole. You know what I'm saying? But the old Cowboy fan thing, we go, our backups good enough to be they good enough to be a starter somewhere. They good enough to be a first team somewhere. And I'd be like, yeah, I'm out of here. Nah,
no way.
I'm letting it play.
Not this time. We created it.
No.
Not this time.
No, Wanye ain't starting nowhere.
Not this time.
Wanye not starting nowhere.
Fiction.
No.
It's
Can Nashawn Wright start somewhere? No.
We made this one up. It's a made up tale. It's a
total fabrication, right? And then I think about all the years like Xavier Woods started in Dallas for real. I started thinking about all the years where, you know, Nolan Carroll just floated around with a job for no reason. The Cowboys have beat the shit out of Rasul Douglas and he'll end up on a whole nother team somewhere, just still playing. Every year, the seventh corner for the Cowboys go to another team and go be good somewhere. I was watching the Lions of some shit. Michael Jackson was out there playing corner. I'm like, what the happened to him? When did he get here? Every single year. So I don't want to look at this defense and go, well, Nashawn and Kelvin Joseph aren't going to start anywhere else. And they might. They might. I have no clue. They might. So I'm looking at my defense, and this is only to prop up what this thing could be. I'm propping up what we saw in the preseason game just to talk about what this thing could be. I'm looking at my second team versus this first team my second team defense versus first team. Cooper Rush and them did terrible. So when you hear me say great things, just assume I'm talking about the defense. Will Greer got his ass. He was nervous as hell throwing that. And he threw that. He was throwing the ball to Deuce Vaughn. He threw that mug 7 feet in the air. Please, I'm not talking about the offense at all. I'm talking about my defense when I say good things, right? Look at what and I know it was preseason. I know it's only 2 series, but that conversation only works the opposite way, right? If Jaguars scored 3 touchdowns and they brag, we were like, hey man, that's the second team Cowboy defense, right? But if it's the opposite way, it's different. If I smack a third grader, hey Voch, you wrong for that. But if that third grader whooped the shit out of me, you can claim, give that third grader some props. They whooped me. That third grader whooped me, right? But the Cowboys defense, a big ass third grader, boy. They want them third graders that got to show up to the football game. You got to have the birth certificate in hand, dog. How old is he for real? How old is this baby? He one of them ones. That's our Cowboy defense. And I feel great about it. You know what I'm saying? People out here. We went back and watched the film. Just to give y'all a quick Patreon review. If you're not in Patreon, go to patreon.com/Voch Lombardi. Brother L was in there. Appreciate you, sir. We was in there watching the film, and you know, Cowboy fans like, hey, I ain't see nothing from Mazi. Well, Mazi got a bunch of people on him. Just they either double teamed him, comboed him, or they hit him in the side late. Like the second dude hit him in the side late. And I still think Mazi had a pretty good game. But this was my thought, right? One, you ain't gonna do this shit to Hankins. Because Hankins know how to deal with that kind of shit, right? But most importantly, why I don't think they'll do it to Hankins or Mazi in the regular season. You're not gonna have time to double team Mazi, honestly. And the one tech structurally. Voch, what do you mean by that structurally? Well, if you look at how the offensive line is laid out, the one tech is meant to be double teamed. 3 techs normally get one-on-one blocks because defensive ends are next to them. And ends don't really get double teamed unless tight ends are out there, right? So 1 techs and zeros are meant to be double teamed. Like that's the nature of like their job. I started thinking about this, right? I was in Patreon and I was watching this one play. It was Mazi and it was Bohanna. Sam Williams was on one side and Darrell Johnson was on the other side. Darrell Johnson is undrafted free agent rookie from Liberty. He's number 51, right? I was watching that play, right? And they double teamed Mazi, of course. And they double teamed Bohanna. Sam was just kind of working his outside contain thing or whatever. That's fine. But it was one-on-one or whatever, right? And then I kind of just saw Darrell Johnson over there just getting dealt with by whoever the hell was playing right tackle. Fine, no problem. It's no problem. Of course, I had to put my thinking cap on. I had to use my imagination and go, well, what if that was Micah? What changes? Right? if Sam could still be Sam, to be fair. I mean, Sam could be D-Law if y'all really want to rub that shit in. Sam could be D-Law over there. But let's just say Darrell Johnson was Micah and it was Darrell, Bo, Mazi, Sam. And you're double teaming Mazi and Bo. Something has to change here. Something has to change here. And another thing that we saw that we kept taking note of was, hey, they're double teaming Bo. They're double teaming Mazi. And I know the days when they double team Hankins. But the good thing about these bigger, stronger one-tech guys is when they're not being double teamed and they're in these one-on-one situations, they typically take the lunch money of the dude that they're one-on-one blocking. Every time I saw Mazi Smith with just one dude on him, bodies hit the floor. I'm not joking here. This is serious face Voch right now, right? Whenever Mazi just had to deal with one dude, like it was one dude trying to block Mazi one-on-one by himself, and Mazi was like, he just, you know what I mean? He just kind of took his pass, just kind of threw him over, and Mazi just proceeded to go to the other side. As a rookie, by the way. And Bohanna's another guy that just, you know, it's hard to just one-on-one block him. He's not as dominant as Hankins, and he didn't do this like they did to Mazi, but Bohanna was indeed a guy that's kind of tough to block by himself, just one-on-one, right? Just imagine this world, chat. I'm wrapping up now. We're going to move on to depth charts. Y'all call in, by the way. Just imagine this world that we live in where you got to double team Hank. You ain't got to double team Mazi, but it's in your best interest. Because Mazi was beating the hell out of Brandon Scherf, too. You can say, well, Voch, who did Mazi beat? I mean, Brandon Scherf's a guy. Brandon Scherf's a guy. And before you say, well, but Voch, how many bad offensive linemen in there in the league? Plenty. So in my mind, if Mazi can beat Brandon Scherf, he could beat up on a lot of characters, but whatever.
KD.